deficiencies to it that just precluded us being able to do anything by the timeline of November 30. Now we are working toward getting these two levees certified. They will be delayed. The one on the VR3 up on the north, we're working with the Corps of Engineers on that one. VR1, which is right there, we are working on preparing plans and specifications to get that one certified. The problem is that we don't have money on either one of those to accomplish it, so we're in the active process of seeking funds to do that work. Another one was we call CC3. It's down here on Caygas Creek, and it has issues that we are not going to be able to certify yet, so it dropped out, which left us with 6. Now, I won't go into those other than to say, well, SCR1, here is SCR1 right here. That's the one that's one of the 6 that we are working toward for certification by November 30. Now, the one that's below, SCR3, does not show on here because we could not PAL that because of the fact that it has about a 2,000-foot stretch of a channel or a bank along the edge of the river there that there is no levee. Remember, a levee has to be an embankment that protects an area from flooding the community when there's major flood coming through. Okay, Gabe. Here, just to talk in terms of the National Flood Insurance Program. This is administered by FEMA. It consists of 3 main parts. It has a mapping. It's like a 3-legged stool. It has a mapping segment that is a way of identifying flood hazards, and that's what's in process now. FEMA is in the process of updating maps, doing flood insurance studies, and making those determinations. And then it has an element of floodplain management. In the city of Oxnard, you have a floodplain manager. Each city has a floodplain manager within its city. And in the county, the unincorporated area of the county is the floodplain manager. In this case, the Public Works Agency in the county is the floodplain manager for the unincorporated areas. And then woven into this is insurance, which is something that is administered by FEMA, and we'll speak to that later as we get into this. Okay. I talked about the paper maps. These are and you probably have seen these. They fold. They're like road maps. You fold them out. And this was a technology that was back in the 70s, was used extensively. It's become very cumbersome, hard to update, and it's just a real pain. And then it also has the problem that we don't know. If you look at the map that's in the city, for the floodplain in the city of Oxnard, say down along the Santa Clara River, it'll show it in some detail, and then everything else will be white because that's out of the floodplain area for the city. If we go into the unincorporated area, which is on the other side of Oxnard Boulevard there, so to speak, yeah, Oxnard, it will be something that shows as being mapped in the county and have some detail there, but it will be completely blank in the city. So it's hard when you're going from the city to the county. It's hard to work together because you don't have the complete picture of what's going on the other side of the street, so to speak. Okay, go ahead. One of the issues is that on a national average, this is a multi-billion-dollar job being undertaken by FEMA to go do this countrywide. But nationally, about 56%, a little over half of the maps across the country are more than 15 years old. Just to give you the idea, in Ventura County, more than 87% of our maps are more than 15 years old. So we're due for an overhaul, and that's what's in process right now. One of the things that the digital firms will do is it will make available to you ways to display the data and to do planning and to see how it impacts. This is a floodplain area here. In fact, this is a flood zone area, AE, and I can't read that one up there. But anyway, this is a floodplain area that has been superimposed on a Google view. So you can take that information and use it on aerial photographs, and makes it a very useful type of tool. Now, I want to talk just a little bit here before I turn this over to Gerard, but talk a little bit about, okay, where is the 1% or the 100-year floodplain? Up until 1985 or 1985, the floodplain was defined, and that's that 1% chance event thing, was defined and is shown here in blue. So there is the outline of the 100-year floodplain coming down the Ventura, or down the Santa Clara River, based upon the 1985 mapping. Now, what's happened is there are a process of updating and remapping this entire area along with the rest of the country. We are not the only ones that are going through this. The whole country, nationwide, is being mapped and updated. And it is based upon, they have to use the most current information available. Now, in this case, the 1985 firm has a base flood. Now, the base flood rate, that's the base flood elevation, but the base flood, the 1% storm in this case in 1985 was 161,000 CFS. If you recall, over here in this picture, we showed a picture that was estimated that flow in that storm to be 165,000 CFS. So that basically then what we are seeing here in this analysis is the elevation of that of where the flooding should have occurred in this storm based upon that analysis. Now, the new flood insurance study has been undertaken, and based on the new information, there was a study completed that said we have more in the 1% event. We have more than 161,000 coming out. Basically, our proposed base flood on the data that's being analyzed right now, it's more like 229, maybe 239,000. I thought it was 229, somewhere in that neighborhood. But that's significantly higher than 161,000. Or 165,000, as we showed over here, is what they estimated. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is, and this study is still in process. When FEMA came through, and we took a look at this what we call SCR3, which Gerard will get into more detail on the extent of that thing, but it's below the 101 bridge. When we get into the detail of that, they determined that there would be spillage out of the creek, out of the river, into the community, because they said we have to use the most recent data, even though that data still is being processed, so to speak, and being vetted. But so they required that analysis be based upon the most current data, which is the data right now that's being processed through is 230,000, almost 240,000 CFS. Putting that in terms of what does this do to you in the relation to this thing over here, with this base flood elevation of the 239,000 on top of the 165, or increase it from 165 up to 239, we're probably looking at a base flood elevation in there of something that's going to be 5 to 7 feet higher than what you see right here in this picture. So the upshot of that is that it is vitally important. If you go out there and you look along that railroad bridge, along the rails, forecast out over where you are in relation to that, add another 5 to 7 feet from it, and that'll be what you'll be facing into for a new 100-year flow. Now, the reason that 100-year flow is, or the 1% chance flow has increased to that amount, there are several reasons. One is there's been more development upstream by upstream communities. The second reason is that the levee or the channel bottom has aggraded or has built up over time. There's no longer any mining going on in the river, so that over time that material builds up. And as I showed you the picture on the piers down here, that material washed out. That's on a little steeper section of the river upstream. When it gets down around here, you start approaching the area into the lagoon and into the ocean. The slope flattens out, so material tends to drop out, and